All right, so Steven's with us today, and Steven, you are one of our most frequent guests.
It's because you don't have that many friends.
I mean, it's true. It's true, but I realize because we go back so far that we just like start rambling and start talking, and sometimes I think we leave people completely just like going, what in the world to talk about? So I thought we might actually talk a little bit today about like.
I just figured the podcast would probably be like it was when we're in normal conversation where people are just kind of along for the ride and they'll catch in pieces.
That is kind of how it's turned out to be. But I did think we might give just a little bit of like backstory to, fortunately, so Jada's not with us today. If you're listening to this one and not watching it on YouTube,
she's live. Kylie, she's just not here today.
That's true.
Yeah,
Kylie is here.
It's not that she's like no longer with us.
So like, you and I share similarities. Well, actually, I did not start martial arts training until I was a young adult, as in like 19. Kylie started basically since she could walk, and you're right there in between us.
It's true. Yeah.
So I thought it would be just kind of fun to talk today about a little bit of like, okay, like going into like how you get into martial arts and then kind of moving from martial arts into self-defense, kind of perspectives of everyone at the table. Mm-hmm. Because, it is different. And we've talked about it on the podcast before, martial arts is not necessarily self-defense.
It's true.
Just because you're a martial artist does not mean you can actually defend yourself on the street.
Looking at you, Kung Fu guys. Looking at y'all hard.
I think when we did that podcast, Tai Chi was like the big thing I kept going back to all day.
Yeah.
It's like, there might be some principles, but like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, also the fact that you made last tournament I went to, you literally made me flex on the Kung Fu guys in every category and told me that I could not leave until I beat them all. Your exact words were, the continuous sparring event will not be won by a Kung Fu. Verbatim.
I try not to get too much into the whole style thing, but
it's true.
I mean,
hey,
Kung Fu is just weird.
Kung Fu people are just weird. It's the martial art for dudes with ponytails.
All right, and I know the kind of comments we're going to get is like, but wait a second, karate was heavily influenced by Kung Fu. Yep, you are correct. Mm-hmm. And again, when I look at, and we're a karate school. That probably could be another. We had Ian Abernathy on the podcast, mm-hmm. and I think I actually want to have him back on again and talk to him again because that was a lot of fun. And we were all like completely dead asleep. Me and Kylie and Jada were all just like completely like, oh man, I don't know. None of us had slept well the night before.
None of us
so
had
I kind of feel like he carried the podcast because he was the only one with like really positive vibes.
Yeah.
When I look back at the video, we're all sitting there like, and he's just like, hey guys, I've never seen him not happy. He is just like one of the happiest people. And I was like, that was amazing. What people didn't see was like, that was like so amazing because we're sitting there looking completely dead and he is just like wide awake and excited the entire time. And I'm like, man, I don't like, how do you do that? Because if I'm talking to three people who are like, then I'm probably going to be drugged down to their level. He was not. I went off on a tangent there. Anyway, I think we're going to have him on again talking about like how, the martial arts should kind of be growing and evolving and stuff like that. I think that would be a fun conversation to have with him. But in the meantime, so when we say, I don't like to tell people we do karate. And I know that kind of sounds kind of funny, but I think you get it.
Yeah.
Because what we do, when you say karate, people think Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid, all this stuff. And you go, all this stuff. It's like, that's, but most people go, well, that's not real fighting. The people that understand a little bit more will say that's not real fighting. You're right. Yeah, it's not. And that's not what we do.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, I mean, I think a lot of it comes from like two different places, and like one's the sports side of things, and I'm scratching at the table because I have ADHD.
Yeah, don't do that. It gets put on the.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse. But one side comes from like the sports side of things, which is really really fun, and I enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
But then you have a lot of people with inflated egos because they're really 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 good sport guys. And then you get them in here on the mats where you're either continuously fighting or somebody gets taken down or something like that. And then they're like, ooh, now you're, it's kind of like, if you're a good grappler and you're fighting somebody who's never grappled before, it's kind of like fighting a baby, They can struggle a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you just kind of wait that out, and then they're really tired. You beat them up, and, but and then you also have like the super traditionalist side of things too, which I think can also be equally as destructive. Where I think like one thing that I find like really misplaced is like, oh well we don't spar, we only teach self-defense, and it's like, what do you mean you guys don't spar? Like, oh no, we only teach self-defense. You would be seriously injured if you came in here, and it's like. Yeah, but now you have no visible metric to like measure how you can actually fight. So I think there needs to be like a split kind of in between where you do like a certain amount of sport, but like also, and especially with our self-defense and stuff like that, we always did it real time against an opponent that was not trying to hurt you, but was definitely giving you measurable resistance.
Yeah, they're not working with you. They're not sitting there being and I've actually gone to. And if anybody's listening to this and this is your school, or if anybody's listening to this and this is the way your school operates or anything like that, it's no offense to anyone. It's really not. It's just not the way we do it. I've been to other black belt testing, and I'm watching stuff, and it was like, okay, how do I'm watching these guys, okay, self-defense section. I'm very interested in these guys' self-defense. Bless you, Kylie. I'm very interested in watching these guys' self-defense. And then I watch, and all it is pre-programmed self-defense that's just like choreographed.
Yeah. Anyway, so like you were saying, it's kind of all pre-programmed and choreographed, so you lose any of the troubleshooting, like, well, this didn't work, I need to do something else. Yeah. And so you can only get that through resistance, and you can only recall under stress what you perfected under stress. So you can only, people have this preconceived notion that they're going to rise to the occasion, and you're not. You're going to fall to the level of training that you have, and even below that, the level of training that you've mastered.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to drop that even lower than that, probably the level of training that you have recalled under stress before. Which, I mean, if you're in your school and you're never at some point like sucking wind and you're like, I could die, you probably need to find somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's the fact of the matter, and it's human nature. Nobody wants to do what they suck at.
That's the truth.
Which is why schools do katas.
So we've had guys come in before, and they find out that we don't, do stuff. They'll come in from other styles, and one of two things happens. And I'm not trying to say like we're the best freaking school around or anything like that. Yeah. That's not what I'm trying to say. Because we have a particular niche that we are working in, and that is somebody asked me the other day. It's like, okay. You do Kyokushin. I says, like, yeah. They said, okay, tell me about Kyokushin. Okay. I said, let me back up. If you're going to go to another Kyokushin school, we're not like that. Yeah. If you're looking at any kind of traditional karate school, we're not like that. I've got all of these things that I have done. Mm-hmm. So as far as like the way we teach Kyokushin around here, it's like MMA and combatives wrapped in a nice kind of Kyokushin karate gi. So I mean, it's like traditionally, I think a lot of Kyokushin, their self-defense came from like Aki Jiu-Jitsu. We're not touching that crap.
Yeah. But also, anyway. on the other hand, Masayama did a lot of groundwork in the original Kyokushin curriculum.
So actually, when he kind of like created his school, and like he wasn't out like every other old guys back then. They wasn't out to like start a style. They were out to start a school. Yeah. And his school was named Kyokushin, and the Kyokushin Kai, and he was a 4th degree black belt in Koshin Judo.
Yeah.
Fourth degree black belt or Goju Ryu. I don't remember, but he was a black belt, some degree black belt in Goju Ryu and Shotokan. So he had these three things. Koshin Judo was specifically the style of judo that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came from.
Yeah.
So yeah, they mainly did groundwork. It wasn't the throws and the stuff. Most of their stuff was groundwork stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and going back and actually reading, because I get to be, I'm a nerd. You know, we've said this before. So going back and actually reading guys that were in his school, they were like, yeah, it was all bare knuckle. It was all full contact. He didn't care if it was standing or on the ground. It was just fight.
Yeah.
You know, see what happens, you know?
That sounds lovely.
So we have taken this,
Awesome.
we have taken this to more of the philosophy behind what he was doing than necessarily stylistically exactly what he was doing.
Exactly.
Because it's that same thing with, like, I know I've heard other guys say, and I completely agree, if what you're doing is not growing and evolving, then you are slowly regressing. I was talking to a class the other day. I was like, you know, you have no idea how many thousands of dollars I spent in training myself last year. Every once in a while I have somebody like, you still go and train? I was like, I got black belts in 5 different styles of martial arts, and I'm a combatives instructor, and I'm a pistol, rifle, and shotgun instructor, you know. And yes, I am still going and training constantly, because if you're not growing, then you are shrinking.
Exactly. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you're not gaining something new, like if you're not learning anything, at a point you're not going to have anything left to give as an instructor. And I think like that is an astute failure as an instructor.
Yeah.
You know, you should be a better student than you are an instructor at all times. And I feel that you know, like regardless of what you're doing, you know, obviously, you know, if I was teaching paleontology, which I know nothing of, but you know, I'd be digging into that because it's like kind of my job.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's really true. I am definitely huge on further education. And the moment that I run to the end of my knowledge, and if I just say, look around and go, I'm good here, that end, it's either going to shrink in from the back or it's going to start shrinking in from the front. But I'm losing something somewhere.
Yeah.
I realized we kind of like gotten a bit off. We started talking all martial arts and stuff like that, which is actually cool, but it's not really our plan for this podcast. So, I mean, yeah, it's okay, right?
That's cool. Yeah, we didn't really discuss what the plan for this podcast was. I think we just started talking. And
Started recording, and
Yeah.
I had one vision. We kind of like, no, I like where we're going though. So,
But I
hope you guys.
I think
okay with that.
what's more important to me, especially like young martial artists and stuff like that, end up getting drawn into different styles and things like that, and
Yeah.
you know that's really important to them. And, you know, like getting that black belt's awesome and it feels great, and you know that kind of thing. Which, you know, I love my black belt. It's awesome. It's sitting up there, but like, you know, it's really cool. But then I think for me, it was the biggest difference after black belt was I realized that concepts matter more than techniques.
Yep, exactly.
So, like, you know, if I can understand the concept of how, you know, I mean, even just like weight distribution and stuff like that, that makes a huge difference. If I can understand concepts, I've picked up things so much faster and it's translated everywhere. But the fact of the matter is, you're not a martial artist if you only know one thing.
Exactly.
Like you could be like, you know, you can do like super awesome kicks and you could be a super dope Taekwondo guy. That probably means you spend way too much time on your hair and you might be a bit flamboyant, but you could be an awesome Taekwondo guy, but that doesn't make you a martial artist. It makes you a Taekwondo guy. Like, if you can't
they're martial artists. It's the same thing. It's like you know, people talk about wrestling. I've heard some guys like wrestlers trash martial arts, and I'm like, dude, you realize wrestling is a martial art.
It is a martial art.
It is like one. It is a very okay. Like if you're pure Taekwondoist, you know, and just all the kicks and stuff. And again, I've learned from some Taekwondo guys. I got some good friends that are Taekwondo guys. So, so Steven's always painting me into a corner here.
I got big love for the Taekwondo guys. Your kicks hurt, you know. It's okay. You don't have to cry on your husband's shoulder or anything. It's all right. No, I'm just playing. Big love for the Taekwondo guys, but it's just a representation. It could have been anything. Like, I think boxing's a good one. People, for whatever reason, have like this preconceived notion that every fight that they get in is going to be like, freaking Rocky IV, and they're going to stand up the whole time and like slug it out, and they're going to scream Adrian at the end of it, and it's just that's not how it exists. You're probably going to hit that dude one time, and then he's going to tackle you and smash your head into a parking divider.
Or I was actually at a fight where it was like an organization that had boxers and kickboxers and MMA. They did all three, and they had that style ring. Well, they had one of their boxer guys from that organization fight a kickboxer guy under kickboxing, or maybe a boxer fighting MMA guy under kickboxing. It is under kickboxing rules either way.
Yeah.
They come out and like real kickboxing rules. So this whole
Yeah.
kickboxing where you can't kick above the waist is crap. I can't stand it. So anyway, they come out, and the kickboxer guy kind of wham leg kicks the boxer. The boxer basically stops, looks at the ref, and complains. And the ref is like, "Nah, this is cool. Go." And
Welcome to the Thunderdome.
they go back out, and the boxer comes at him a couple times, and that kickboxer wham kicks him in the leg again.
Yeah.
Knocks the boxer down. It takes him down. At that point, he just falls. And when the ref walks over to like make him stand back up, he like dives out of the ring and leaves
Dang.
from 2 leg kicks.
The same thing. I don't remember who it was that said it, but he's sitting right beside me. I remember at some point, and I quote, where the guy was like, "Are you a fighter or are you MMA?" And you looked at him and said, "No, I'm a fighter. Those guys are boxers."
Okay, so a little bit of backstory on that, just for the fun of it. Okay, so we were, I was at a particular event, and I fought for an organization that very similar. They put on boxing fights and mixed martial arts fights. The Boxing Commission, MMA was pretty new in our state. Before then, I either had to fight in smokers, or I did go to Virginia like once and fight, and it was just it was different. But anyway, the Boxing Commission, man, they looked at like the Ultimate Fighter TV show, and they looked at those guys, and they just thought that was how all MMA guys were. So like he gets up, man, he's just running his mouth just constantly about everybody in MMA. This was right before the fights. I mean, this was like the pre-fight meetings. And he was like, "Listen, guys," he said, "all you MMA guys," he said, once the fight's over, when you guys get back, no fights backstage. Fights only in the ring." I was like, duh. And I think he had made a lot of grammatical errors when he wrote the rules out on the board. And I was sitting beside another dude that was in MMA. And he like raised his hand, looked at the guy. He says like, "I get punched in the head for a living, and I know that sentence does not make grammatical sense." So it was and he just kept running us down. So when you are backstage and you have your hands wrapped, you then have to go have your hands checked, your wraps checked by the Boxing Commission before you can glove up and start getting ready to head out to the ring. I think my brother, Matthew, is the one who wrapped my hands. And I go up, and he had just been running his mouth for a good solid 2 hours, all about MMA guys, and it was everything else. So I walk up, and he's checking my hands, and they had us segregated, all boxers over here and MMA guys over here. And I walk up, and I'm showing and he looked at me, and that was the first thing out of his mouth. He says, "You a fighter or are you MMA?" I said, "Nah, man, I'm a fighter." And I pointed over to the boxers, and I said, "Those dudes are boxers." And he didn't like me after that, but he had to sign off on
like that. Yeah.
I was like, you would run your mouth at us. I was like, I mean, in all honesty, which one's more fighting?
Yeah. Like,
the sport that you can do more.
I mean, you can kind of take it this way too. Like,
I realize they're both fighting, but still,
a lot of MMA guys can exist in the boxing world, but boxers can almost never exist in the MMA world. Like,
yeah.
No,
our boxer's gonna basically beat most MMA guys most of the time, but they can exist there.
Yeah,
and they can get there pretty quickly because they're doing it. It's just that's not the only thing that they do.
I was about to say but when 4 corners changes to 8, it's like ooh.
Yeah, in that moment, it's who's going to exist better in the other
Yeah.
world? I think that might be the better question in that respect.
like-
And MMA guy's going to exist a whole lot better. All right, maybe phrasing. Not saying you were wrong on that one, but I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, like
I mean, I don't mind saying if you're wrong, but
I mean,
But-
I can be wrong. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but like I imagine it's possible.
that's because you agree with me so much. Though.
Yeah, see, that's what
Apparently, Kylie's just here to laugh at our ramblings.
Basically.
Yeah.
But all that to say, as a martial artist, to be at least in my opinion, to be a true martial artist and not just a fanboy of. I was really looking for a nice way to phrase that because none of those were coming to mind. I'll say, what's your Christian PG-13? Yeah, none of those were that. Anyway, instead of just being a fanboy of one martial art, you should be really a student of fighting.
Yeah.
And realistic, reality-based fighting in any competition or anything like that should come second to it and should be an augmentation for, your innate ability to fight.
So between the smokers and some kickboxing that I did, and it's been said before, I didn't lose in full contact competition.
Yeah.
I fought kickboxing, I fought MMA, and I fought everything from like welterweight, which is 170 pounds, which is actually where I ended fighting, all the way up to like heavyweight, which was actually my first fight. So I went into my first fight. We drove to Virginia, and at that point, I didn't realize this because the weight classes are like 170 at welterweight, 185 is middleweight, 205 light heavyweight, and then 206 and up is heavyweight. That was what I thought we were going into. We head up to Virginia, and I'm like, I'm going to go in at 185. Okay, that's cool. So I get up there, and I wasn't really cutting weight. I was just trying to be right around 185. I thought, most of the time when you go in, you weigh. If you don't make that weight, you've got an hour or so to cut. I wasn't too worried about it. This is what I'm hearing anyway. I go up there, and I come in, and I like, all right, let's get your weight. And I weigh, like, 186, heavyweight. I was like, whoa, what? He's like, 185 and up is heavyweight with this organization. Because it wasn't like a regulated thing in Virginia.
Yeah.
North Carolina, it was illegal.
Yeah.
At the time. And I'm like, wait, wait a second. This something about this is not right. And dude says, it was my fault. He goes, did you not read this? And I said, well, I thought I did. He said,
Apparently not well enough.
185 and up is heavyweights. He goes, like, 184 to, like, theirs was, like, really weird. It was, like, 160 to 184 was their middleweights, and, like 159 and under or something like that was their lightweights. This has been years and years ago. It's the first one I ever took. And I was like, oh, crap. Okay. So I got matched against, like, 225 heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I beat him with just a bunch of leg kicks. So
I see. I remember that.
yeah, that was like that was the coolest thing because like I'm sitting there, we're mixing it up, and I'm like, I'm just going fine. I mean, this dude really outweighs me, but it's going okay. He gets around behind me and like throws his arm over my shoulder because he didn't know what he was really doing.
Yeah.
That's when I really realized because he like tries to choke me standing up, and I did a shoulder throw. The only time I've ever done a shoulder throw in competition, and it was beautiful.
I mean, if it works, it works. Like
It was absolutely beautiful. He hit the ground, wham! I jump on top of him, it's like, yeah! And I start punching him in the face, and then I lay back for an arm bar, and the dude was like a bodybuilder. And he just goes, and picks me up. I'm a full-grown man, 186 pounds, and that dude freaking picked me up
yeah,
while laying on his back.
yeah, that happened to me one time too, and it makes you feel like a child.
It does. I jumped up and said, no.
Like, I don't know, you can put me down.
I stood up really fast. I'm like, no. So I don't think people understand how hard that is, because he's laying on his back, arm extended all the way out, turns his wrist and picks me up. I tried this with Kylie a couple years ago because I was telling somebody about it. I was like, yeah. I said, basically, I was like, and I could not pick her up, and I'm not like weak.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was doing a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that. It was back in like 2019. I come down to about like 210, and I was like, abs and super sexy and whatever it was. Like, And so I was doing competition, and I would get all the bodybuilders to come like work out with us, and it was because my buddy Joe, his brother, is yoked. Dude's huge. And so, but he wrestled a little bit in high school. So we would get on the mats and grapple. So then he would get his bodybuilder buddies to come over there because I'd beat them up. And so it was kind of a fun game where like they would go like really hard and I'd be pretty chill about it and then like choke them out and stuff. And they generally like, you know, it was either they would come in and like do a couple sessions after that and come hang out with us, or they would just get like mad and leave and then go do curls. Which, like, by the way, there's two types of people that do curls. One is people that don't know what they're doing, which is the majority of them, and people that do like bodybuilding competitions, and they're kind of metro. But you know, like whatever, do whatever you want. But like,
Steve was just here to like insult everybody.
I was like, I'm just here to throw shade. That's it. I woke up yesterday evening and chose violence. Like, I'm at no sleep and about 1,000 milligrams of caffeine, and we just letting everybody get it. So, either way, but we would bring the bodybuilder dudes back there, and then it would be like, oh, hey, your size doesn't matter as much when you have somebody that knows how to fight, because, like, you know, they've got, like, 50 pounds on me, and it's all muscle, and they're, like, super jacked, and they got scar tissue in their butt cheeks from shooting trim and stuff, like, huge dudes. But either way, I got to throw this dude James back in an armbar, and James is jacked. James is huge. James, I watched him squat 750 pounds.
Holy crap.
Yeah, like, I was like, he's like, oh, yeah. And I thought it was a joke. I was like, man, they're putting a lot of crap on that. And he's like, ooh. And I'm like, oh. like, James has silverback DNA, just, I'm sure, injected into him. And dude's huge. He just runs on shark testosterone and, like, grilled chicken and rice. It's amazing. Anyway. But yeah, I throw him back in an armbar, and it's like extended, and he straight arm picks me up with like that's all rotator cuff.
That's crazy.
And I'm still 215 pounds, and his arm's extended, and he's like, ooh. I'm like, ah. Yeah, like he was like, that hurts, and I'm like, yeah, that means don't do it. Like just tap. There's no shame in it. Like.
Yeah, for me, I just like jumped off the ground and said no. And this was back when they did like the 10-minute first round and crap.
Yeah.
And I just like moved around him and kicked him in the leg until he couldn't walk anymore.
Yeah.
And he just waved off at the ref, so I can't walk. So it's like, and I had him in a corner. I was like, wham! And he was like, that was the last one. He just kind of like grabbed on the ropes.
That's enough.
I was like, thank God, because that would have scared me to death.
Yeah, dude, you feel like a child, like, you know, that's what I imagine, like a 2-year-old getting thrown in the air, that's how it feels like.
Yep. So that was my, I never fought at heavyweight again. Of course, I didn't mean to that time, but, yeah, it was just one of those things. So, fun times.
I'll say, the heavyweight sucks. Every time I ever, like, did any kind of competition at heavyweight, I was always on the bottom end of it.
Yeah.
Which is like...
I mean, I did grappling competitions at heavyweight.
Yeah, like, which is, like, really cool when you're the dude on top, like... sick. Like this guy's big like a turtle. You know, just get him on his back. It's hard for him to get rolled back over. Awesome. When he's on top of you though, and you've just got like this mountain of crushing weight, you're like, like please, sir, like, just an inch of breathing room. Like, yeah, that's not very nice. But like,
I went to this one grappling competition. We were way off subject. I went to this one grappling competition, and I was about. And it was just, you know, it's weird. Everything has its own weight categories. None of it makes sense. I was like 210 at the time.
And everybody's just different, yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's just completely different. So I was about 210 at the time, and I went in, and I found out once we were there, 200 and up was super heavyweights.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, crap. I look over, I'm 210. The closest guy to me is 280.
Yep.
There were like 4 guys in this thing, and it was like 280 to 310. They were all in that range. And I was like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Because all it's going to take is for one of them just kind of lay on me and my leg go like to my head, you know, and I'm just going to get broken in half.
Yep.
And they looked over, and it's like, okay, this dude's 210. Well, that guy over there's like 199, 195, 197. You know what, dude? We're going to put you with the heavyweights. I was like, thank you.
Because that's what happened to me. There was like me at the time, I think I weighed in at like 217, and then there was 245, 280. And I'm like, huh. And the 245 guy was like 3% body fat. I mean, this dude was like cut. And I'm like, there's a big 245. Like, that's not, like, this dude, he ain't got no pudge. Like, I'm like, ooh. And that was the dude that ended up winning it. And then the guy that was 275, he was just a savant with a hip throw. Like, nothing else I saw him do impressed me at all. Like, but he got me with a hip, we're just kind of like grappling, and I'm feeling him out, and it was just like, ooh, there's the feet. And then he's on top of me, and I'm like, crap. Like, we here now. So
this is where I did not want to be.
Yeah, and it was just 6 minutes of me like struggling, and then I get a collar choke, and it's like 10 minutes on the clock, and I'm like, I'm gonna put him out, and he just outlasted that. He like got his chin into it a little bit, and I'm like, ah.
So I went to the. You wasn't with us. Was you with us at the North Carolina Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Championships? Lewis was there.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, we had.
I've seen Lewis in years.
Well, this has been years ago.
Yeah.
I was 210. I went to that one. At that one, I placed third, and I remember seeing the two guys that were like above me, and this one they did not like set weight. There was no. You just come in and weighed in, and then they would kind of divide everybody out. That was the way it was done. It was weird. But
honestly,
anyway,
that almost sounds like a better system.
Yeah, and I mean I get it.
You could like more closely match people, and
but
stuff
we
like
go
that. So
in.
like
I mean, this was probably
arbitrary
2009,
measurements.
2010. So I mean, it was that far ago. We come in, and I saw this one dude, and he's like that. He was just like, whoa, like 3% body fat and everything. And I looked over at Lewis. I was like, huh. So I wonder how much that dude weighs. Lewis says, I'd say about 210. He was more than that, but yeah, it was him and another dude. It was a lot bigger, and it was me. I was like the third, like largest dude.
Yeah, and
then there's a few other guys. I ended up coming in third.
Is that the same time you destroyed that dude's tib and fib?
No. No.
Yeah.
No. This tournament I took third in. That tournament I won.
With his ultra controlled like ankle locks. There was a heel hook. But
it felt really controlled.
It felt really controlled. If you slow down the footage, you really took your time.
Man. If you just like put it in slow mo, I mean, I took forever. I gave him plenty of opportunity to tap.
Yeah, 0.5 speed. It's like primo.
I remember I came back. I was showing him my instructor. I was like, "Yeah, man." I said, "I'm right here." I said, "You see, he's going for a heel hook on me," and I'm like, psh. So I reach over and get his. I was like, "You're not gonna leg lock me, dude." I know that sounds really arrogant, but I'm super competitive. You're just not going to leg lock me. So I like reach over and I grab his, and then I'm like, now watch, I will give him like time to. Oh, never mind. No, I didn't. In that adrenalized state, man, I felt like I was like going like, come on, dude, tap, 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 snap. Oh crap. But actually what happened was like, you're not going to leg lock me. Crack. And I was like, oh.
You're going to learn today.
I felt bad.
Like, enjoy the wheelchair.
I did feel bad on that one, I'm telling you. Now, Chris did not. Tavis and Chris rode with me. Chris said, I know you guys have no idea who this is, but Chris recorded it on his phone.
Yeah.
And for like the 45 minutes to an hour drive back, all I heard was that happen over and over and over again. Because he was laughing hysterically.
I believe it. Yeah.
Oh, man. The good old days.
God.
But anyway, let's way off subject, way out there. All right, so kind of trying to pull us in a little bit. So I started off in Kyokushin Karate, had an instructor who really cared about like doing things under pressure. Therefore, that is the way you come up because that's the way I come as far as that goes, and that's the way you come up because that's the way I came up as well. And just like all of my students, it's like, okay, that's cool. When we hit self-defense, it's pressure testing. It's always pressure testing because if it's not under pressure, if it's not real, then it's just not real.
And it's also two-part. On one part, it's for their benefit. On the other side, it's really fun to see them like struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
So-
freak out just a little bit, like when the test starts and like you can just hear like this much poop coming out.
But I mean, that was something that one of the guys said. He said he looked at me one time and said, "Well, if it's not real, then it's just not real."
Yeah.
I was like, that's the truth. And it's not like nobody's trying to hurt anybody. I guess one time I do have half a tooth in my head still because of one test,
Well,
but that was because of my brother.
We're not like trying to injure anybody. Like, I don't like the term hurt, and I have no idea. I just have
Yeah, well, no, that's true.
Like, I want
I guess-
things to hurt a little bit because hurt goes away when I let go, or like
Yeah.
hurt goes away in a day. You know, like being
yeah,
sore.
if somebody
like, that
punches me
hurts.
in the face, I was joking around with some guys the other day. I was like, I don't mind getting punched in the face. I
Yeah,
really
like-
don't. Does it hurt? I mean, at the actual definition of the word, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
But it goes away in 10 seconds.
exactly. Yeah, like, and if you're sore,
So injured is
it goes away in a couple days.
Yeah.
But like remembering, oh yeah, I don't really like getting punched in the face that much, and you remember to move your head, kind of stays with you forever.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
We're not like trying to knock you out. Sometimes that happens,
That's
not on
rare.
purpose.
That's very, very rare.
It mostly happens to me. It's
How many times have you been knocked out? Like in class?
in class. You rocked me pretty hard one time, but I rocked Brandon Wolf and Daniel
Yeah.
during black belt tests.
Yeah. Well, you said especially to you, so I was like,
Well, it especially happens to me, either me getting rocked or me rocking someone else.
you've caught me pretty good one time.
Yeah,
I recovered in a way where you didn't realize it at the time, though.
I do. Yeah, you told me about it later.
Yeah, because we were like MMA sparring, and you like caught me with a hook, and it dropped me, and then I just immediately like took you down.
Yeah.
Because I was, and Steven just thought, oh, he shot in for a takedown. No, I was in recovery mode.
I was like, but when I kicked Brandon Wolf in the face that time, I really thought he was making a joke. Like, I thought he was just clowning on me. Like, and so there's
Because he was
video.
staggering across
Yeah.
the floor.
So I throw this really a beautiful front leg roundhouse kick, and I kick him directly in the jaw. Like, as his hand comes down, and he goes staggering across the floor. I thought it was a joke, so I start laughing, and there's a great video of me laughing at the knocked out instructor as he goes stumbling across the floor, and I look like Satan.
That was your second degree black belt test, too.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I'll say, I chipped his
I
toe
mean,
if it was.
he
I
said
felt
it was
bad about
awesome. He said
Yeah,
he was
like-
like, "Nah, man, that's great."
Yeah.
Those types of things don't. I mean, that's very rare. I'm trying to think like who I've ever knocked out in training. I knocked out my brother in training, but again, I don't think you can count those. It's my brother.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He definitely deserved it. Like, I've known that man a long time. Like, yeah. He earned it.
He listens to the podcast too. So.
Yeah. You heard me, Matthew. What's up?
He's caught me before too.
Yeah.
He's the reason I have a half a tooth in my head. Nobody else. There's very few people that's like you're one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that we have just like, we're cool enough that we're just going to throw. And that's rare, and most people don't do that.
Scott caught me one time, and it was like I saw the tunnel. And I was like,
Well, Scott's one of those guys. Is like if you get him, he's going to get you back.
yeah. And we were, it was that one. We were throwing like hard.
Yeah.
And he comes through and just like straight boom, and I just eat all of it, and I'm like, oof. And my world got about this big. It looked like a 1950s television.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, and then it slowly came back, and
I've been dropped 3 times, and 2 of those were in training because one of them was Matthew, one of them was you, and then I did get caught in a kickboxing match with like a spinning hook kick, and I hated myself for getting caught with a spinning hook kick. I fell to my butt and then hopped right back up. Oh man, I was pissed. I was like, the center ref was like, trying to give me my standing 8 count, and I'm like, no, I'm ready to go. Let's just go. Come on, I'm ready to go. But
you gonna hit me with that spinning?
it's like, my gosh, I just knew he was going for a spinning back, so I dropped my hands to cover because he had already thrown a lot of kicks to the body and stuff. And
So he'd set it up well.
Oh, he set it up really well. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
big ups to that guy.
So that was the only time I ever had a draw in a fight.
Yeah. I've never been like knocked out.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I've been dropped 3 times.
I've been choked out like a handful of times. Like,
No.
it's really relaxing.
Yeah.
Like you wake up. Last time I got choked out, I was like, I thought I was at home, and I got choked out, like, and it was like, you know, my buddy, he said in the choke, it was deeper than poetry, and I'm like, and I'm over here, and I'm like, oh, I fell to the wrong side, I need to start remedial action, and like, and it was literally like, okay, I need to grab the gi sleeve and pull over, and I got to grab the gi sleeve. And then it was nap time. And so I'm like sitting there and I'm just trying to grab, you know, my body's still like, gi sleeve. But the brain's not there no more. So it's just like me loosely grabbing for this gi sleeve. And I thought, like, I heard everybody, like, talking, but I thought I had fallen asleep at home with the TV on. And it was like the TV going. And then I was like, you know, and then like I was getting like smacked in the face and stuff. I'm like, why is my bed blue? Oh, dang it. Like, I got choked out again. Like, you just, you know, you come back. I've choked a couple out too, though. I choked one guy out bad. It's his own fault. For the record, it's one thing if you get choked out because you're too stupid to tap. Like I got choked out because I'm too dumb to realize I'm being choked out and not like, I need to work through this. It's like, you know, I could have been like, oh, okay, it wasn't like a pride thing. I wasn't like afraid to admit it. That dude chokes me out all the time. It's what he does. He's a gangster. but like, I'm too dumb to like realize that, oh yeah, I'm also being choked and I'm not getting any more oxygen to my brain. And if I don't tap, I'll pass out and die. Like, you know, and luckily my training partners are really good dudes and they're like, oh yeah, he's not moving anymore. We should let him go. But, I had a buddy that I trained with, and his favorite thing to do, if you caught him in a choke, was he would relax and just pretend like if he couldn't get out of it, like if he knew he's like, it's way too deep, it ain't gonna happen, he'd just relax and pretend like he didn't have it. And it happened to me. He got me with it twice. I just let it go. And like one time he was purple. And I'm like, you know, and we're like, you know, going, and I'm like, bro, you good? And he's like, yeah, he'd give me a thumbs up and like shake his head. And I'm like, okay, and then I'd let it go, and he'd be like, "Why'd you let that go, bro? You're choking the crap out of me." And I'm like, "What?" Like, you know, and just so you know, and you let it go. Then you have to keep grappling and stuff. So I realized that wasn't going to happen. So I had his back.
I said, "Not today."
And I get a collar choke in, and I mean, I set that thing like deeper than Einstein's rules of relativity. Like we're in there. I sunk that bad boy in, and he just relaxed because he knew he wasn't getting out of it. And I still didn't think I had that thing. So I was like, I'm going to double down on it. I switched that to bow and arrow choke. I'm choking the crap out of him. I think I don't have the bow and arrow choke deep enough. So I roll over into side control, and I've got his gi pushed to the ground. And I'm like, and I have started his head like a freaking lawnmower. And then I'm like, what am I doing wrong, bro? And I let it go, and he starts going on the floor. And I was like, ooh. And I'm like, oh man, so like, you know, I'm like about 2 seconds from like yelling, be like, Austin, go get my CPR face mask, I killed him. Like, you know, so I'm like a few minutes away, I'm checking his pulse, making sure I'm not having to do like chest compressions. He's not breathing, he's got like, you know, he's got snoring respirations. And I'm like, come on bro, come on, like, you know, and I'm like smacking him, and you know, somebody's picked up his legs, and he eventually comes back and he has no idea where he is. And then him and the coach had to go talk. He was like, you gotta quit doing that, you're gonna get killed. Like, I probably choked him every bit of 45 seconds. Like I choked him so long, like a dangerous amount of time long.
So
like,
the whole moral to that story is tap if someone catches you in a choke.
Tap.
Yeah, like he forgot high school algebra, like long, yeah, bad.
Gosh.
Yeah, tap. Sometimes it happens, and like, you know, you're like, your brain's not thinking like, oh, well, he got me. Your brain's thinking like remedial action, and you'll go out. That does happen.
Yeah.
And that's not that dangerous. Usually they just kind of let you go. Don't do it out of pride, though. It's dumb. Like, you know.
Yeah. I one time, and if you listen to this podcast, I'm sorry. Only one time did I ever like just sat there and in pride say, no, I'm not going to let you choke me. And I was actually training a kid at the time who had this aspirations of being an MMA fighter, and I knew there was no freaking way he was going to ever be. He didn't have the drive. He didn't have the willingness to work. He was just a dreamer of a kid.
Yeah. But he thought it was really cool.
But he thought it was awesome, and he thought it was really cool. Exactly. He catches me in a guillotine choke, and I'm like, there is no freaking way in this world this kid's never tapped me, and he's not going to tap me today. Not going to give him that satisfaction. And I fought through it, and I finally got my head out. And then I beat him. But then the next morning when I woke up, I could not lift my head off. I woke up and I was like, oh crap. It's like, I think I broke my neck. And I reach over and I grab my head and I lift myself up off, and I'm like, okay. But I mean, I had basically no use of my neck that day.
Hey, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. So don't do that either. That was dumb,
Yeah.
But I'm just, I had my reasons. They weren't necessarily good reasons, but I had my reasons. All right, we're way out there again. It's been fun though.
Sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah, well, we might have to come back for part 2. That might just be the best way to go about it. It's just let's just go to part 2. Yeah, let's just end it right there, and let's come back next week, and let's kind of continue the conversation, and also talk about we've talked about our history, we talked about some fun stories, we talked about some stupid stuff, but let's try to talk about kind of where we were going, and the fact of if you're in a martial art, where that needs to go. All right, guys, so thank you very much for watching. We forgot to mention our sponsor, so sorry. Go check out faithandfreedom.clothing, and you'll see they've actually expanded their t-shirt offerings. So there's some Christian t-shirts on there, there's some patriotic t-shirts, there is some martial arts t-shirts now. Woo! And some new coffee t-shirts as well. So I really there's one that says coffee because it's 6 a.m. somewhere.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. So thank you guys very much for listening or watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Later.